So I come before you tonight as a man who knows that the improbable journey that led me to this place in this historic moment in America could only happen here. We were told that we couldn't win this election. But tonight, we prove that with hope, hard work, and the people by our side, anything is possible.
And really, a lot of the grassroots efforts contributed to Warnock's win. There are a lot of efforts on the ground to get people to the polls, to make sure they're registered and make sure that they show up to vote. And if they didn't show up to vote, to mail in their ballots early. And I think that's really what made the difference in Georgia. A lot of people are pointing to former gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, who's been a celebrity, a star, trying to get people out to vote. She has set up various voter campaigns and voter drives, has been very vociferous about the importance of the election, and a lot of people are pointing to her as a key person for the Democratic surge in the votes and voting and, of course, the election outcome.
And it's another big day today, joint session of Congress, where they're going to be meeting to certify the state election results for who's going to become the next president. Yet there's also this chance we're going to see some disruption. What can we expect to see inside the chamber and out on the streets?
Well, we can expect a little awkward moment for the Vice President, Mike Pence, who is the person who will find the certification responsibility somewhat daunting, considering the current president said, well, he wouldn't like him so much if he certified the election results. And that's the role of the vice president, even if it's largely ceremonial. That's what the vice president has to do. And even though it would seem like a rebuke against the current president, it's really just part of his role. Now, outside of Congress, you may see some protests. We've seen protests in the past couple of days here in Washington, D.C., with a campaign called Stop the Steal. And these are Donald Trump supporters who believe that the election results were fraudulent, of course, echoing the mantra that the president has been saying for the past several weeks, ever since he lost the general election in November. And these protesters, which included a group called the Proud Boys, protested in Freedom Plaza, saying that the election results should be reversed or should be recounted, something, again, that the president has said. Now, on Capitol Hill, back to Capitol Hill, we have about 140 House Republicans, about 12 senators who say that they will not vote to certify the results of the election. Now, this is not expected to overturn anything or stop the process, but it is a show of recalcitrance on behalf of those who support the president, who don't believe that the results are legitimate. It's either that or they just want to support the president and use that as leverage later on. It's really hard to say where people's motivations are with each individual, but that seems to be the large belief.
Georgia had been traditionally a red state, a Republican state, and also in special elections, Republicans usually win special elections. But these results, and we're still waiting to see if Ossoff will be able to pull it off, but it looks like he will, is going to give the Democrats a huge advantage. Now you have Kamala Harris, the incoming vice president, will be the tie-breaking vote. And this means that Biden can actually pursue the policies on his agenda that he wants to without the gridlock and pushback that he would see from a Republican Senate. So he'll be able to pursue policies on the environment, on healthcare, on education, and most importantly, on trying to tackle the pandemic. Without a Democratic-led Senate, he would really, really struggle to get anything done, and that might lead to the Democratic whole agenda really falling apart.
Under Trump, the Republicans have lost the presidency, the House, now potentially even the Senate. Is that a repudiation of Trumpism or of republicanism?
Well, I think this is something that the Democrats need to seize upon. I think they need to try to convince Republican voters, Republican elites, that their agenda is more popular. But the real issue here is that you had 74 million people who voted for Trump. And you had, in this most recent election, a poll revealed that only 60% of registered voters actually thought that the election was fair. So to say that it is a complete repudiation of Trumpism and of Republicanism is a little bit more difficult to say, because we still see a US that is incredibly divided and very, very polarized. But it's a key juncture here where Democrats are going to need to convey, particularly to Republican elites, to reject Trumpism and to get back to the way the Republican Party used to run itself, where they actually adhered to democratic values and wanted to uphold the Constitution.
I've just been speaking to our reporter, Colin Campbell, in Washington, D.C., talking about these protests in Congress today, expected from some Republican lawmakers, about the certification of the results. Considering what we've seen in Georgia, does that take the wind out of the sails of what has been planned today, or do you think that's still going to go ahead regardless?
Well, I mean, I think the result is already known. We know that there is no way that they're going to be able to overturn the results. They're going to protest, of course. That means there's going to be hours and hours and hours of debate. But it would require both chambers, both the House and the Senate, to have a majority to vote in favor of changing the results. And that's not going to happen. There's no chance of that happening. And I think this also adds to the importance of the win of the elections here, that the Democrats now have control and the Republicans might need to start shifting their thinking. And there is talk about some Republicans even switching parties, seeing that the writing is on the wall here. And I think these Georgia results cement that a little bit further.